What's going on, everybody? Golf Card Strategy Show. I'm Paul Hickey, and I've got my man Mike Lakusta in the house, the golf card collector on Instagram, golf_card_collector. He's the brains behind the show here, Golf Card Strategy Show. Holding up, is that a tiger?
Yeah, that's a tiger lenticular. I might show off some cards in today's episode because I just got a big shipment.
Nice. That's exciting. Well, you have to walk us through that. Good to see you, Mike. Good to see all of you, audience. And if you guys drop any questions into the chat, we'll take them. Otherwise, we got a great show agenda here today. We got Mike's going to talk us through some of his losses, some of his wins, buys, sells, watch list. Maybe a little QA if we have some time. I still have not bought any golf cards, so I am not much of a golf card investor yet, more of a spectator sport. Cardboard Richard in the house. Cardboard Richard, what's up? He's the co-host of the Hockey Card Strategy Show with me here on the nooffseason.com sports card content
Fellow
network. Fellow Canadian, that's right. Representing Cardboard Richard. Good to see you. All right, Mike, let's get into it, man. What do you want to say before we get into the losses? What's like your overview here?
Man, it's an exciting time for golf. The PGA Championship just wrapped up, and Mr. Brooks Koepka brought home the win. That is major number 5 for him. To put that into perspective, he now has more major championships than Rory McIlroy, which is...
That's crazy.
It's unreal. On the flip side, I believe Rory has a lot more PGA wins, like actual professional wins, because Brooks, out of his 12 career wins, 5 of them are majors. So he's definitely an above average player, winning a lot, but to have 5 majors, that puts him, I believe, in an exclusive group of like 20 golfers all time.
Amazing. I'm just looking at his SI for Kids card. Raw is up huge over the last 14 days, although it's actually up big, just maybe because of his Masters performance. It looks like it's just been up big for a while.
To put that in perspective, I mean, just recently, somebody in the Golf Cards and Memorabilia Facebook group posted, I think it was like 6 or 7 different flags, autographed golf flags for sale. Brooks, he was asking for $1,000. All of the other ones, including John Rahm, who's the world number 1, variety of other big names, he was only asking $300 each. So right now, Brooks is hot.
Crazy. Yeah. John Rahm. I mean, I'm a big fan of his. I like him. I think he's solid. But yeah, Brooks kind of coming out of the whole live situation to represent strong in the majors. That's a whole other topic. But Cardboard Richard, we'll get to your questions here in the chat. And good afternoon to Evan Bell as well. Good to see you. Evan is a loyal audience member, potential future analyst at nooffseason.com. So good to see him in the house. Yeah, so Brooks, big stuff coming out the PGA, strong Masters performance. Again, Sports Illustrated for Kids, 2015, card 407. Raw is up, BGS 9's up. There's not a whole lot of graded copies of this card, though. Like this.
No, there's probably not. Can you hit me with some prices and maybe even
sure.
that up on your screen?
I'm going to throw it up here, too. I mean, the base Raw is the one that is the most common because, like I said, there's just not a whole lot of graded copies of this. But it's up 8.5% over the last 60 days, 110% over the last 14 days, 110% over the last 7 days. So that's like basically, I think, as a result of the the win. But yeah, it's
the win was only a week ago,
basically,
or not even a week ago. Like, what are we on, Wednesday? So the win was only like 4 days ago. But if you think about it, he was leading the Masters going into the final round.
Yeah,
and then he sort of fell apart. And when I say fell apart loosely because he still came, I think, easily top 10. I forget. I think he was top 5 or something like that. Like, he had a bad final round, but he's made massive showings in the first 2 majors of the year. And if he hadn't fallen apart in that final round, because he was leading by like, I think 1 or 2 strokes in the 3rd round. So, if that had gone a different way, we could have been looking at Brooks winning the first 2 majors and possibly becoming the first guy to win a Grand Slam, because Tiger's the only one to hold all 4 majors at once, but it wasn't all in the same year. It was, he won the PGA, then the US Open, then the Open, and then the following year he won the Masters. So he won them all in a row, but they weren't all in the same year.
Yeah, that would be a lot of hype if he won the first 2. So Brooks, just to clarify, so his BGS 9 sold basically on Sunday the 21st. So that's sold on Sunday for $600. It hadn't sold previously to that. So but the base sold yesterday. So 2 days after the win, sold for $65. Its previous sale was like in the last year was half of that. So it did double in price after the win.
And you might look at this card and you might say, gosh, he's got so much hype around him right now, I don't want to touch this card. And to be fair, he did just win the PGA. He kind of came out of nowhere because nobody's been talking about him for a year. We're in the middle of the golf season, so generally golf prices would be high. So I'm inclined to sort of agree with that. However, this is his only card. He does not have any upper deck cards. He doesn't have any leaf cards, whereas most other golfers do. So he only has Sports Illustrated for Kids. And when you look at his career, like I was listening to Card Talk, shout out to Tyler, who gave a really nice little thing about Brooks. So he isn't one of these live players who took a lot of flack going to live from the PGA, because he was coming off a year or two of really bad injuries. Like his knee was wrecked, both of his knees were wrecked, his back was hurting, and he had kind of been at Mount Everest and just completely tumbled down, going a couple of years without a win. I think he had 1 win, but he was missing cuts. He was worried about his health. And if you watch the Full Swing documentary, he was mentally just not confident, really uneasy. And so some of the guys like Bryson DeChambeau, who had a little bit of that backstory, but not as much, or some of the other, like Dustin Johnson, Cam Smith, who went from PGA playing hot, really good golf, they have a lot to answer. A lot of those questions, it's all about the money, blah, blah, blah. Brooks Koepka had to take that olive branch from live to stay in the game. Like he wasn't at risk of losing his card the year he switched, but if he stuck around for another year or two, he might have, ignoring the fact that he had, the majors, a couple of majors under his belt. So he was just not in a good place. And so for him to come from that far down in the valley to just back at the pinnacle, contending at the Masters and winning the PGA Championship, I mean, he deserves high prices and he deserves a lot of praise.
Yeah, good points there. And I like what you said about like, don't necessarily count this card out like it does, because I think smart sports card investors tend to avoid anything that's jumped up in price based on a performance spike, and they want to buy back in later. But I do think there are certain scenarios, and this is what's interesting about golf, right? Because we're going to, like next episode, we'll probably do more of like a straight up top ways to make money flipping golf cards, because we haven't really got there yet. We've talked like episode 7. We're 7 episodes in now, so we've kind of eased our way into like a lot of different golf card related topics. But one thing I'm noticing about just following the market is that you do kind of have to maybe ride the wave of the hot streak to try to make money, because like when a golfer's hot, they're hot. And when they're not, to the point you just made about Brooks, like they can struggle for a while. And so the fact that he's winning and he only has the 1 card, I agree with you. I think it's smart to not necessarily rule out that card. That card could be one of the top 5 ways to make money flipping golf cards for the rest of the year. Because if he comes back and plays well in the final 2 majors of the year, which there's no reason to think he won't, then that card should keep going up. So it's 1 card, easy to make a decision there. If you want to invest in Brooks, that's the way to go.
The other thing I like about that card is that Brooks is not a rookie who we anticipate other companies are going to be releasing cards of his in the next few years. I would be shocked if Upper Deck includes him in any of their future releases. I doubt that Leaf is going to get him to sign anything or to even print his cards. So that really just leaves the one Sports Illustrated for Kids card. I think at worst, maybe he'll have some other Sports Illustrated for Kids cards printed that probably won't be worth anything. But at the end of the day, his rookie SI for Kids is the card. Now, if I were to draw a comparison to another sport, Victor Wembanyama in basketball, I mean, his Sports Illustrated for Kids are selling ludicrous amounts of money. Like I think the PSA 8 sold for like $2,500 or something ridiculous. So that's something I would stay away from.
This is a PSA 7 of it right here.
Holy smokes. that is huge. So if I were in your shoes, I would probably be wanting to look at selling that card before anything big comes out, because there's going to be what's that? There's like a college uniform product for basketball that's coming out or just came out. Bowman University. Bowman University. There's going to be like a Prism. There's going to be probably Topps Chrome in a couple of years. There's going to be tons of Victor Wembanyama cards coming out.
Yeah.
And so when you look at, and I think people who are collecting or investing in sports cards might look at SI for Kids and they think about it exactly like that. The card that first comes out, you make a bunch of money and then it just crashes. And will the Brooks Koepka card crash? Possibly, right? But it has a lot going for it compared to what you might think about that card from other sports.
I love doing this show with you, and one of the many reasons why is because like you just validated what I just said on. I just launched this thing called the Overflow Show. So shameless plug. It's the premium members only podcast. So it's all this extra stuff that I just don't have a lot of time to get to in the other free shows, but it also like opens up a little bit more to my world of like how I'm doing what I'm doing. And I'm kind of showing my eBay account and different things like that with the audience and like how I'm making different plays. And one of the points I just made was that you have to treat, and there's like 30 minutes of the Overflow Show today that I posted was strictly on SI for Kids, and how when you buy the SI for Kids $20 a year subscription, it's one of the greatest plays you can make in sports cards for a lot of reasons. But I did literally say that you have to treat the golf cards in SI for Kids, even the legacy ones like the Koepkas, the Scheffler from 2017, all of those, they have to be treated differently than the Wembanyamas, than the Caitlin Clarks, than the other, because those men's and women's basketball players will end up having so many more cards produced of them. But the golfers won't necessarily. So I think that like I feel great about myself that you said that that I had that hypothesis as well, just because like Scheffler, like, he's got like a 2021 SI for Kids as his only other card other than his 2017 SI for Kids. So it's just that one for both of those guys.
So somebody like Scheffler on the flip side, he is like number 2 in the world, super young, super hot. I think that Upper Deck, Leaf, those kind of companies could very well and should get Scheffler and print his cards. And if that happens, Upper Deck's going to release a rookie class. Scheffler's going to be the front runner in that class, and then that SI for Kids could take a bit of a dip. Maybe it won't though, because what we really consider that as Tiger's true rookie card.
That's true. Yeah, I think you and I are totally like-minded on this. Like, LeBron's trades for like $90 tops right now, and that's because LeBron has so many cards. So you're absolutely right about the Wembanyama comparison. And then in terms of like Scheffler, though, the point I kind of made in the Overflow Show is like it shouldn't drop when Upper Deck comes out with a card from him, but it shouldn't drop as drastically as like LeBron's did, but it's definitely not going to stay valuable like the way Tiger's has. It'll fall somewhere in the middle, right?
In golf, there's more of a staying power for SI for Kids than there is in other sports. And what the comparison I was really making was between Scheffler and Brooks, because I don't think Brooks is going to get any other cards. I think that's it. Whereas Scheffler, Upper Deck would be crazy not to sign him. So anyways, that's really fun to talk about. Let's move on though, because I got so many fun things to talk about.
Yeah,
let's get into losses.
Good. Oh, my shoes. What's up, man? Good to see you in the comments. We'll talk. Shoes. We'll talk later about all your basketball references, man. This is the Golf Card Strategy Show. All right, Mike. Let's get into your losses, man. What do you want to cover here?
So, as a collector, my losses aren't normally like, hey, I bought this for this amount, sold it for this amount, because that's not really.
Right.
I do play that game a little bit, but like, if I'm selling something, it's just because I don't have enough money to buy other stuff I want to buy. So the losses I've got are, for one, I've been involved with ComC, and they have a glitch on their back end connection to eBay. So if you win an auction on eBay, you can sort of like port it into your ComC account, and they never actually ship the card. They just digitally move it from this original consignor's account to your purchaser's account. And so I won it. I transferred the card on the ComC website, but they didn't mark the auction as sold on eBay. So then I got a non-payment strike. So then I was trying to buy another card, and it said I wasn't allowed to buy the card because I had too many non-payment strikes. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I like contacted eBay. They told me, and I contacted ComC. It took like a couple days to resolve it. And the card I wanted was a 2021 Upper Deck Metal Universe Champions Tiger Woods Gold out of 25 arc weld insert. Super cool card. And I didn't miss the purchase because of all this was going on, but it sort of disrupted my communications with the seller. And a few days later, the card did sell, and I had sent out an offer once I finally got my non-payment strike resolved, because I did pay for the card on the ComC platform. And the seller accepted an offer from somebody else. But yeah, that was kind of I guess that's two losses. One is a freaking, so I ended up getting the non-payment strike removed through eBay. And then the arc weld card, I mean, that's the second loss is I missed out on a card I was really looking forward to having. And it's sold, I think, 5 times in the last 6 months. So there's only 25 copies. I don't know where the other 5 are, or hopefully one of the 5 purchases is a flipper who's going to end up selling it to me. But
yeah, maybe there's more meat on the bone for that flipper now that you didn't get it the first time around. But yeah, that definitely sucks as a collector, and that's a good example of a loss. So let me ask you this though, real quick. When you say non-payment strike, is that something that ComC gives you because of their integration with eBay? Like, are they the ones that are monitoring?
No, it's
whether
eBay.
or not you're paying. Okay, so why have I never
heard
of an eBay non-payment strike then? Because I've been calling for eBay to penalize people who don't pay.
You're too good of a player. So not like eBay does penalize bidders, or if you buy something through auction or buy it now and you don't pay for it, and then 7 days elapse and the seller cancels it, and they put the reason for cancellation of non-payment. eBay puts a mark on your account, and as a seller within your settings, you can there's a toggle switch or something like that you can put so that nobody's allowed to bid on your auctions if they have a non-payment strike. And so that's what this other seller had done in their settings. So that's why I couldn't send them an offer.
Gotcha.
You can have that, so you can limit it so that people can bid if they only have 1 non-payment strike, but if they have 2, they can't touch your stuff.
So you can do that as a seller. So I can do that.
Yeah, you can do that.
I need to start doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Carlson Cards on YouTube has a little bit of a tutorial on how to do that, because it's not super intuitive in your settings.
Great. That's good stuff. Okay, cool. Well, that's a win. So thanks for that win for me. What are your wins?
So I told you guys I'm collecting a few sets. I got my diamond relics taken care of. By the way, I got a couple of them in my recent Ship My Cards. There's the Collin Morikawa.
On you here.
So we got Collin Morikawa right here. And then we got Lexi Thompson. Lexi's a single diamond. Collin's a triple diamond. And so anyways, I mentioned that before already, but no, I completed my Matthew Wolff PMG Rainbow. So this is the one I'm most excited about. Feast your eyes. Here's the 1 of 1 purple. I get a good light.
1 of 1.
Purple 1 of 1 PMG.
Yep.
And so there's the 1 of 1, and then I've got just in my hands here, I've got like some of the other parallels. So this is out of 100, out of 150, out of 75. And then the out of 25, which is blue, and the out of 10, which is green, are sitting in my ComC account right now. I'll end up shipping those home someday soon. I won that on auction for like 80 something dollars US. It's one of the, I overpaid for it. I think the market value for that specific card is probably like 40-50 bucks for the PMG green, but guess what my max bid was.
I'm gonna get, so you won it at 80, you said?
Yeah.
So I will guess that your max bid was like 102.63 or something like that.
So I already had the 1 of 1. I already had the out of 25. I already had all the other PMGs. So this is the difference between an investor and a collector.
This was like a 1 of 1 for you then.
For me, it's like a 1 because I've never seen it pop up in the year and a half that this set's been out. And there's only 10 copies, and it's what I needed to finish the rainbow. So originally I put $175 as my max bid, and I had it on the snipe tool. So of course I'm not going to put max bid right into eBay right away. So I have my snipe tool going. I put 175. 2 days later, I upped it to 225 because I'm like, I don't want to lose this. And then the day that the auction was ending, I bumped it up to 285 just in case. And then 10 minutes leading up to the auction, I had on my phone, I was watching the timer tick down. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put it at 333 because no matter what, I don't want someone to get this out of my hands. So if there was another collector doing the exact same thing as me, one of us would have gotten screwed, but those are the prices that collectors pay.
Wow, that's super interesting. I love that story, and I'm glad that you didn't have to pay that for it. But I totally understand the thought process of like what you would have gone through mentally had you not gotten the card. So I'm glad that you put that safety net in there for you. Totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. All right, cool. So great. So I'm excited, actually, for many reasons. I'm excited to hear about a grading submission with that falls under your win of the week. Do you want to talk about that next?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, before I actually show you the cards, I'll mention in a past episode, I talked about how there was a bit of an announcement from PSA that they were going to be tracking serial numbered graded cards. So if you submitted number 2 out of 25 of this PMG Matthew Wolff and it got a 7, I cracked it, resubmitted it. They would say, hey, we've seen the serial number before. No chance at an 8. You just automatically get a 7 again. And I mentioned this to that in a comment again on Carlson Card's YouTube channel, and he does a lot of PSA submissions, and he actually said that PSA has sort of been threatening this for a long time, and that he does like massive PSA submissions, and he hasn't seen that actually taking effect yet. And so even if they say they're doing it, you know, he's suggesting keep cracking that card and trying to get a better grade if you truly think the card deserves a better grade. So with that said, so I just wanted to let that know, just in case our listeners were taking my past advice on face value.
Okay, that's good to know. Hey, before you jump into can I ask a quick question related? How did you submit to being in Canada? You live in Canada. How do you submit to PSA? Do you just submit directly to psacard.com and ship it in that way and pay whatever needs to be paid to get it, or do you do some kind of workaround?
Both. So in the past, I've done bulk submitters. I was using Nash cards actually out of Nashville, and that was going fine. But then PSA kept coming out with Collectors Club pricing levels that were kind of too good to be true, because I had, you know, a bunch of cards I wanted to get graded with PSA at the bulk tier level. So I ended up becoming a Collectors Club member, and so I submit directly to psa.com. You know, cost me a little bit more to ship my cards to the US. And then on the flip side, once they're done with the grading, I have them ship it to my Ship My Cards account rather than directly back to me, because if they ship it back directly to me, I mean, if there's any US customs or Canadian customs brokers listening, earmuffs, don't listen, but like, I don't want to get hit with giant tariffs or whatever for the you know, more than $1,000 worth of grading fees that I paid them. You know, I'd probably end up having to pay 5 or 10% taxes on that, depending, probably even more, because they would have service fees and stuff for customs. So so instead, I end up getting charged $5 to $10 US for Ship My Cards to receive my graded package. And then I just ship it back home with any other cards I've been sending to Ship My Cards. So it doesn't really affect my return shipping too much. Gotcha. The box I received, I made a video. I've got a crappy YouTube channel where I upload unboxings. I don't really have any interesting content where I talk about stuff, but I get boxes. I reveal my my grades, that kind of fun stuff. So check it out. That's Golf Card Collector is the name of my YouTube channel. And I pulled out a box. It's literally the heaviest box of cards I've ever held in like a mail shipment, because it had 2 PSA submissions and 4 or 5 months worth of cards I had been buying and accumulating.
Okay, so is it like cards that you'll buy? So cards that you buy on ComC or eBay or anywhere else, if they're American sellers, you're shipping them to Ship My Cards, and then you're doing a regular PSA submission the way that anybody else would, but your shipping address is the Ship My Cards. The return shipping address is from PSA to your Ship My Cards account, and then essentially you'll just make a decision at some point to have a bunch of them all shipped to you at your home address.
And so I actually cringe whenever I see Americans posting on like sports card nonsense Facebook group saying, oh, I had eBay authentication. I had to wait 2 weeks to get my card. Here I am in Canada sitting 4 months, 5 months to get my card that I bought in January.
Yeah.
A prime example of that is this Tony Finau PMG Blue out of 25. I mentioned this card. I bought this and talked about it, and I believe in episode 1 of the Golf Card Strategy show.
Yeah, I remember.
And I didn't even have it in my hands until this past weekend. That is the kind of pain that Canadian collectors have to go through. So cards like that, I can't do quick flips. I'm just getting them as a collector. I do season-long flips if that's the purpose of buying something, or and multi-year flips.
Yeah, my quick flips were all through PWCC. So when I was in Spain, so I would ship to PWCC and then list on eBay or wherever. And then if I'd sell it, I'd have PWCC ship it. And then there were like 2 full years. I literally never I never held any of my cards in my hand ever. They were just, but the thing about that is, I mean, there's so many different fees that they take off the top. Anyway, I know that the audience is dying to actually hear about this PSA submission. Sorry, Mike, that was my fault. Let's get into your submission.
So the first item, as a PSA Collectors Club member, you get this book. The reason I show off this book is it's kind of a funny story. I put my Ship My Cards address as my Ship My Cards account, my PSA return shipment address as Ship My Cards. And they send out, first of all, this like big book when you're a member, and then they send like a bi-monthly magazine subscription.
Yeah.
And as a Canadian, I'm entitled to get shipment of all those magazines and books and stuff for free, like to Canada. So that's awesome. That's a good, but I accidentally had my Ship My Cards account. So they started shipping these books and magazines and stuff to my Ship My Cards account. I was getting charged every time they received something. So that was kind of a bummer. But I learned as soon as they received the book, I was like, oh crap, I got to mess around with my PSA settings so that, only my graded submissions show up there. So let's get into it. I got like a 20 card submission for sports cards, and then a 39 card submission for Pokemon cards. That was my childhood collection. I'm not going to go through Pokemon. If anybody who is interested, I could do a little video and throw it up on my personal YouTube channel. But out of the 20 cards, here's a stack of golf cards that I'll show off. If anybody wants to see the basketball and UFC cards, again, I'll throw something up on my personal channel. We'll start off with 2 cards that I am ecstatic about. That is a Tiger Woods and a Collin Morikawa Cosmic Blue out of 99. I've talked about this set a lot. I love it. I'm collecting the whole set in golf cards. Both of these got Gem Mint 10s. The reason I'm so happy that they both got Gem Mint 10s, I'm not selling them, so I don't care about value. But there's 2 versions of the Cosmic Parallels in Goodwin Champions. There's the base card, which kind of has a label like that, or just says Goodwin Champions at the top. And then there's the Gowdy version, which has Gowdy at the top. I already had the Gowdy Tiger Woods in a PSA 10. Now I have the base Cosmic PSA 10. I already had the base Morikawa PSA 10. Now I have the Gowdy Morikawa PSA 10. So I've got, out of the Tiger and Collin, I've got both versions, both in PSA 10. So that's like, as a collector, you put together these little subsets. They're not real sets. Like, it's not a proper set collector with a checklist, but you identify some cards you really like a style that you like, and multiplayers that you like, and you try and like bundle them all together as like a personal partial set. And so for me, I completed that with these 2 cards.
Very cool.
Okay, moving on to something that's a little bit more of a flip. We haven't talked much about Daniel Berger. I mentioned him before. I picked up 2 of his Goodwin Champions rookie autographs. I believe this is 2016. So this is the exact same card as like the Justin Thomas rookie autograph from that year. The Justin Thomas sells for a couple $100, sometimes more, sometimes less. PSA 10 of the JT was selling for like $1,000 or more at the height of 2021-ish. So the reason I have 2 of these, and by the way, they both got gem in 10, so I'm pretty pumped about
You're
that.
on fire with the grades.
I am, I know. Daniel Berger was Rookie of the Year in 2016. And so I don't remember if that's exactly the same year that Justin Thomas was considered a rookie on the PGA, but like for him to beat out all the other new players and to get Rookie of the Year that year, and means obviously he's the kind of guy who had a lot of hype. He's the kind of guy people are talking about 7 years ago. He's been injured. So about his last time he actually swung a golf club was a year and a half ago. And he's kind of getting towards the end of his recovery. And he's been talking with reporters. He's been saying, I'm ready to join, the tournaments again. I want to play again. I start from scratch. He's like, he used to be 20th in the world. Now he's, 100th something in the world, or probably like 500th in the world. So when he finally makes his debut return and starts stacking up some top 10s, maybe even wins a tournament or 2, I'm pretty sure his PSA 10 rookie autograph, and he doesn't have any other upper deck cards. Like, this is it. I think this is going to be worth something. So I picked these up for between $10 and $15 US each and $19 to grade them. So I've got, I don't know, what is that, $35 into each card. So I feel like once he makes his return, if he were to win a tournament, I could probably sell those for $100 each, I would think.
That would be great. Great play. Let me ask you this. So you 4 for 4 on 10 on the gem rate so far. So did you buy these cards in person, or like did you have an eye on the grade? Or because it's extremely hard to buy them online and get good grades, right? So
yeah. No, good question. Both of these Daniel Bergers I bought off of eBay from private sellers. One of them was a consigner, but it wasn't one of the big name consigners. The other one was just from a private seller. The Morikawa and the Tiger. The thing about those ones is that I own a ton of the Cosmic cards. Like, I've got a stack of them. I think we were talking about that last episode. And so I could be a little more picky. And like, if I've got like 6 of each of the Tigers. So if I grade the nicest looking copy, it's probably going to get a 10. The Morikawa was a little luckier. I have 1 or 2 copies of each version, so I picked the nicest one and fortunately enough got a 10 on both of them. So to answer your question, I am buying the cards online. And some of them I get lucky. Other ones I buy a bunch of copies. I grade the best looking one.
Yeah. Makes sense.
However, on this admission, I got the nice grader at PSA. I've heard people talk about like this phantom grader who gives all 10s, and I may have gotten him or her on this submission. I didn't get all 10s, but I guess spoiler alert, I got one PSA 8, and it wasn't even on my card. It was on my friend's card who wanted to add it to my submission. And I got 3 PSA 9s and 16 10s.
Oh my God, that's the best gem rate I've ever heard out of an individual submission. Anecdotally, like that. That's crazy.
And I hyper analyze cards before I grade them. And I mean, this is probably gonna rub some people the wrong way, but I also like clean them really well. Like, I have the Kurtz card care package, so if there's some kind of surface looking stuff that doesn't look nice, I'll put Kurtz polish on it and I'll rub it around, wipe it down, breathe on it, wipe it, put some more polish on it, so it doesn't get rid of scratches. It doesn't add any material to the card, but you do lose grades if there's like clouding on the chromium looking card, or corners of a card. If it looks a little bit frayed, I'll put like some moisture on my finger and just kind of like make it look a little more square. So I'm a little meticulous that way, and to me it's part of the hobby. I'm not doing it because I want to alter a card and get a better grade. I'm doing it because I've got a card that I think is worth a 10, and if it looks slightly imperfect in somewhere and there's something I could just slightly touch and make it look nicer, I'm not trimming the card, I'm not adding color, I'm not adding wax or anything like that to the card. But if I could do something, like, I'm not squeezing cards and screw downs or anything, but if I can, slick up the card and make it look nicer, then I will.
Love it.
To be fair, and another thing I'll say too is I've got like 50 other cards sitting in a stack that I want to grade with PSA. So if I sent in 20, it's the top 20 that I either thought were going to for sure get 10s, or that I really wanted to get graded.
Makes sense. Okay, cool. Love that information. I think that information is always really valuable to the audience. Our audience is all about grading. And so I might try I've seen Kurt's Card Care stuff on Instagram. I think they have interesting posts where it's like the before and after. So I'm thinking of maybe, especially since you just said that you've used that, I might give that a try. So
I found that it works really well for Pokemon cards. For sports cards, it's kind of been hit and miss for me.
Okay.
As I mentioned, I'm a collector, so 3 more cards that I will not be selling. These are the Diamond Relics I told you about, the Jack Nicklaus, the Tiger Woods, and Arnold Palmer. So you probably can't see the grades as I'm showing them on the screen. You're probably itching to know what they are. So I'll start with Jack. Jack got a PSA 9. So I'm super pumped about that. These are thick cards, like 150 point cards. So to get a 9 is phenomenal. Tiger got a 9. So I am floored about that. I saw a guy with an 8 Tiger. I think it was like Pop 1, and he was trying to sell it for a ridiculous amount of money. So I now have a higher grade than that guy.
That's awesome.
And possibly Pop 1, none higher. I don't know, but I haven't looked it up. I'll probably look up the cert later when you're talking. And then last and certainly not least, a 10 on Mr. Palmer.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, so 2 9s and a 10 on the thick cards. And then lastly, the last golf card I graded in that submission. This one was really cool. So it's a Sergio Garcia Leaf autographed 1/1 PSA 10.
That is sweet.
And you can see the 1/1 right there.
That is a very cool card.
Yeah. So yeah, hell of a submission. I wish my Pokemon submission went as well. I got a lot more 7s and 8s and a 6 and some 8s, 9s, and 10s.
If they were from your childhood, though, that's I guess to be expected. If any of those
there was some
your collection.
But similarly, I've got like a massive Pokemon collection. So I picked the top 39 cards, and I was pretty careful. Like I kept the stuff in sleeves, and I guess the stuff I was sliding in and out of the binder wouldn't be in Gem Mint 10, but anyways, yeah, that's the PSA submission, and I know we don't have time to keep talking on and on and on about my cards, but like I'm just gonna like kind of tilt my camera down. Like if you see all these cards here, like this is not even a dent in the submission that I got returned to me from Ship My Cards, but these are just the golf cards, and I'll just quickly show some of them off. Like Justin Rose, for example, I picked up 3 of his rookie autograph cards. So that's one where like I'll keep one and then sell the other 2. Bryson DeChambeau was leading the PGA Championship after the first round, and a couple of cards we've talked about in the past, I can finally show them to you. There's that exquisite rookie auto.
I love that design.
Beauty.
And signature.
So then here's another one of his signatures, the BGS 85 Artifacts.
I remember looking at these online. Yeah.
Numbered out of 10. So those 2 are absolute huge cards for me. I already showed you the Matthew Wolff cards. I already showed you the Diamond Relics. Here's that Michael Jordan April Fool's card.
Yeah.
CSG7. Cool. Sports Illustrated for Kids. John Daly's. Talk about 1/1s. This is the coolest one.
I saw that on your Instagram post earlier. Yeah, that is a cool card.
With the sick patch.
Yep.
And then, a couple of wrap up. Here's that Tall Boy Tiger Woods where it's the reprint of his rookie image card. And then, that BGS 95 and, one of his Masters collection cards numbered out of 200. So anyways, it was like Christmas for me last weekend when I ripped open that box and got a couple hundred, like probably 100 to 200 cards, big cards for my collection.
That's awesome. Let us know in the comments if you've got any PSA grade reveal stories, and certainly don't forget to submit them for the Sports Card Strategy Show and Tell. Mike did a great submission a couple weeks ago, and so if you guys have anything you want to share along the lines of what Mike just shared, we'd love to have you. Just email me at paul@nooffseason.com. Hey, real quick, Mike, before we go to buys, Cardboard Richard's been in the chat. He's got a couple comments. Quickly, if you can, he says, walk us through some Tiger Woods cards. He wants to pick up his first. He's been after a signature kicks Tiger Woods.
Ooh.
No idea where to find one. They look cool. Not sure if it's a good investment though. I feel like I saw
Yeah.
one of these online. I wrote about one of these recently.
Yeah, those are going to be really hard to find. So the signature kicks was a very short printed card for Goodwin Champions. I want to say it was like 2019 or 2020. I don't think it was released in multiple years. It might have been 2 years, but essentially they took a pair of shoes, possibly not associated with Tiger Woods at all. Like it might have been a brand new pair of Nike golf shoes. They cut them up and put them as the relic inside of a patch auto card. So that's why they're called signature kicks, is that it's shoes, relic, patch, whatever, on a Tiger Woods autographed card. And I want to say there's only like 5 or 10 of that card. So it's extremely rare. I would venture to say that it's probably sitting with some collector right now, or some big investor. I don't know the value. I've never actually seen comps. I've never seen the sale on that particular card, but I would venture to say if it were to get thrown up on eBay on auction, it would
I'll
sell.
tell you, actually. So I'll tell you. So this is where I've seen it. So I wrote this article for Sports Card Investor, top 10 most valuable upper deck exquisite autographs. So technically this one was an exquisite, it's a Goodwin Champions exquisite from 2019. It is a signature kicks auto raw, sold for $5,500. Best offer accepted on February 20th, 2023. So I don't know if this is the one, if this is the type of signature kicks that you get, that you and Cardboard Richard
It is, yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
So there it is right there.
What was the best offer accepted?
Best offer accepted was the 55. It was it was the price that it went for was $5,500.
Okay.
Yeah.
So exquisite in the sense that like this Bryson DeChambeau rookie card is an exquisite rookie auto, but it was inserted into the Goodwin Champion set.
Yeah.
Exquisite, for those of you who know Upper Deck, in the past has been like a standalone set. Like, so a box of exquisite would have only like 5 cards or something ridiculously small like that. So it's the kind of product you would typically like buy into breaks for, rather than buying a box for $1,200. You only get 4 cards and you know, you could get totally whiffed. If anybody from Upper Deck is listening, come out with a 2023 or 2024 dedicated exquisite golf set.
Yeah.
I was messaging with somebody who works at Upper Deck, and he was asking for feedback, and even kind of alluded to that, but not in a way that like we're doing it, but in a way of like, would that be something that would be interesting? Like, what would you be interested in new sets with our other properties, such as Artifacts or Exquisite or whatever? So yeah, if those of you who are listening, give us another set of Exquisite Golf.
So do you happen to know if there are any other Nike swoosh relic cards for Tiger off the top of your head, or would we have to do a little bit of research on that and get back to Richard?
There are. So actually, Richard, is it you who was messaging me on Instagram? I think it might have been. We'll see if he comments. Somebody was messaging me today on Instagram, showing me some screenshots of Nike swoosh or other like Tiger Woods logo, because the TW like embedded on each other is Tiger Woods' actual symbol, not the swoosh. That's a Nike logo. And so my advice to that person was to throw up a post on Facebook on the Golf Cards and Memorabilia Facebook group. And somebody there out of our 1,500 members or more will either get back to you with a card that they would consider selling, probably at a high price, because the logo demands a lot on a patch card. Or, you know, you'll probably get some people commenting saying, hey, we never see these. There you go. There's the Nike logo. But yeah, those command like 5 to 10x of a typical patch card. Like if I could buy a Tiger Woods just generic patch card for $50, you'd be looking at, you know, $200, $300, $400, $500 on the patch card with the Nike swoosh, depending on condition, if it's serial numbered, all those sorts of things.
Cool. Richard says it wasn't him on Instagram, but he thinks he's messaged you on Facebook before. Good stuff. Glad we're hitting that topic, because Richard's not the only one interested in it. But I'm certain Mike will comment on more Tiger Woods cards throughout the rest of the episode. So Richard, stay tuned. All right, buys. Mike, what happened with the Morikawa thing? Here's for the audience.
That's
the audience
on you.
Does not know this. So Mike, okay, fair enough. But let me explain. So Mike emailed me and he's like, because we've talked about how I like Collin Morikawa. I would buy a nice Collin Morikawa card, especially from someone who, Mike, if I like to, I think we all get the warm and fuzzies if you kind of know the person secondhand, or even if it's like even if it's like someone that a friend kind of knows but just was talking to on Facebook, you still kind of get the like warm and fuzzy. So I got kind of excited. I was like, Mike said this guy could give me like maybe a little bit of a small deal on a nice Morikawa card that I was interested in. The price was right in my range. I messaged, so Mike hooked us up. The guy messaged me on Facebook and I said, I'm interested so Mike and I had an email exchange and we threw out kind of a price. And then when the guy messaged me on Facebook, he was kind of like, what's up, man? What are we doing with this Morikawa card? And I messaged him back and said, email me photos and the price that you're thinking, or like, tell me what, if you're the seller, tell me what the card costs and, what like pictures of it. And then we'll go from there. And I never heard anything from the guy.
He goes to
so I don't know if I missed it or what, but I was ready and I never heard back from him.
I don't know how quickly you guys got back to each other on that, but just to give you some backstory. So this is Victor. So shout out Victor. He had a sort of a family emergency and had to free up some funds. So he was selling a few of his Morikawa cards. Victor's a big Morikawa collector. And so he hit me up and, I wasn't in a position to buy the card at the time, but I thought of you because you were considering Morikawa for your first card pickup. So that's why I kind of put you guys in touch. But probably about an hour or two after I first let you know about that, he also threw up a post in our Facebook group and said, hey guys, I got to move this pretty quickly. Is there anybody who's interested? Because I think he did that before he heard back from you. So he did sell the card. What I suspect happened is, in like the hour or so that it took for, emails and Facebook messages to come through, somebody else probably replied to his post right away and was like, yep, I'll take it. And they probably gave him his asking price because I think you probably got $25 off or, something like that.
I think I was going to get a deal. I definitely don't. I definitely don't. I just think it's funny. Everyone's different. And so my thing is like, so he says, hey, Paul, what are we thinking on the Collin? And I say, nice to meet you. Can you please email me at paul@nooffseason.com about the Collin? So I'm kind of expecting him to send photos and say, here's what I'm thinking on the price, blah, blah, blah. I totally get that he would throw it in the Facebook group though. So it's all good. But anyway, it's probably good for both of us though, because if he got more than what I was going to pay him for, that's certainly the move. I will never, ever be mad at anyone for taking more money than what I would offer them for anything. So good for Victor on that one.
The other thing I'll say too is you never know what somebody on the other side of the screen is doing. Like I get messages all the time because I've got Facebook Marketplace listings, I've got eBay listings. And if it takes me like an entire day to get back to somebody, I'm probably dealing with my toddler, I'm probably working, I'm probably cooking dinner. Like there's so many things going on in life and I might not be able to answer everything on my phone quick enough. And I know that Victor was driving between states and I think it was a funeral he had to go to or something. So, but the other thing I'll say too, Victor, you are a little bit lackluster with your responses. So,
Victor, you need to be a friend of the show, man. You're we love you here, Victor. I'm glad that we connected. Hopefully we can help each other out. And yeah, I totally get it. I mean, personally, not to talk about this too much, but I prefer eBay for the reasons that you like. Because when I first got into it, I was all over Facebook, and it was fun, but it just takes so much longer. It's like because you are waiting for those things to happen, and there's gaps in communication with people's schedules, and so it's easier even if you're trying to do something on a Discord or a Facebook group in terms of a transaction. eBay is just it's an auction or it's an offer, and I don't love the non-personal nature. I don't love that you can't really understand who the other person is. I don't love that as much as I like being at a card show or knowing the person, but for the time's sake and just like the transactionality and efficiency of it, I don't know. Anyway, but it's good stuff. So I missed out on the Morikawa, but you made a couple purchases. So walk us through what you bought.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been smashing buy it now on a handful of stuff lately and overspending again. So I got to sell some of the other sports that I've been buying. I honestly, I keep most of the golf that I buy, but I've gotten some basketball cards graded in UFC. So I'll probably be selling those. But just to finish off your thought there, I mean, I work in sales for a living, so it's actually kind of fun to negotiate with people. It's fun to throw some hooks out there, get some bites, kind of go through it and get money showing up in your account and not having to pay the fees you stuff on eBay. So I like that game. But right now, I just don't have the time for it. So I'm going to take it to the opposite end of the spectrum and say, I'm at a point in my life where I just bundle together 30 cards and I send it off to a consigner. I'm sending it to ComC. They will consign it. And then what ends up happening, they give me a big credit balance on my account. And I think it's like a 7% fee that I pay them to auction my cards. And when I've got my money in the account there, I can then buy cards off of their account if I want. And then, all I had to pay on the sale was a 7% fee. And I had a lot more eyes attracted to those auctions than if I were to try and do it myself. However, if I try to cash out and get the money, I think it's like a 10% cash out fee. So then it ends up being a total of the 17% loss or whatever due to fees, plus the shipping of the cards, plus I'm Canadian, so I have an exchange rate. So, but anyways, consigning is kind of where I'm at when it comes to selling because I don't have a ton of time. But we're talking about buying. So the cards that I bought lately, I mean, I'll just talk about a couple of them. So one of them actually, I've got a version of it right here. So this Collin Morikawa Cosmic, probably can't see it super well because of the lighting, but I told you I've got a couple copies of this already. I've got a PSA 10. Here's a raw version. I picked up another one of these for $7.30 or some ridiculously low price. The first one I ever paid for was $69. Second one I paid like $29. I picked one up for like $14. Now I'm paying $7. So I'm hoping it just goes to zero and I can just get them all for free. Another pickup was actually, this is a name you probably haven't heard for a long time. I know
this name.
Yeah, actually, you've got it on the show notes. A Jim Furyk Leaf autograph card. I was pretty pumped about that one. I paid $8 US, and it was a Canadian auction, so I don't have to worry about the whole ship my cards thing. So, domestic shipping for a few bucks within Canada. This is a funny thing, and I've got mixed feelings about this because I do it myself, but it's annoying as a Canadian when other Canadians have an auction in US dollars because we both get screwed on the exchange rate. So what ends up happening is this I bought this card on auction from this guy for $8 US. So I lose like probably 3% or thereabouts, 3 to 5% on foreign exchange because I have to pay him in US dollars. And then he gets paid out by eBay in Canadian dollars, so he also misses out on like 5% foreign exchange. So between the two of us, if he had just listed it in Canadian dollars, we would have had a 10% swing in total value. And that's ignoring all the eBay.
I feel like you and Cardboard Richard should do a whole segment on this. So we should bring him in and do like a special episode of.
So on the flip side,
how to do auctions as a Canadian on eBay.
Totally. So on the flip side, I get why he or she did it because I sometimes list auctions or buy it now in US dollars because when I have like super cheap US shipping options on my listing. So if an American sees it and they say, okay, it's $50 US and the shipping is a reasonable price, they don't care that it's coming from Canada, but they see their currency, they see a reasonable shipping price and they'll buy it. If it's listed for $70 Canadian, even though that's equivalent to like $50 or $55 US, they're less likely to buy it because the perception that it's coming internationally, they're paying in a different currency. How do you feel like that about that as an American when you see auction or buy it nows or auctions in other currencies?
Yeah, it's a good question. And it sounds like Cardboard Richard's in for this idea. He commented. So, and I think it's interesting. So I just bought a card the other night from a Canadian seller, and it was fine because I think it was a baseball card. I feel like it was a Jackson Churio 2022 Bowman Sapphire, perhaps, if I'm remembering correctly. I was looking at him a lot the other night, so it's a good chance that's what it was. Anyway, it was fine because eBay converts it for you. So, it's like, it might say like $40. I think it was said like $40 Canadian. But then when I went to make the offer, it said approximately $33 US or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then it converts it every step of the way for you. Even when you're paying, it says, this is what you're paying in US dollars. So I don't see it as an issue at all. And I don't fear like any kind of, issues from Canadian shipping, but it's interesting. Maybe we'll get some audience feedback on this. Now, if I were to speak to the issue of like, what would I do if I were you guys in Canada? My dilemma would be like the market, like I guess the market size, or like how would it show in the search results? Because it's anecdotally bigger market in the US. I mean, that I don't have data that says that, but
it's
anecdotally,
way bigger. Yeah.
Bigger market in the US, right? And so I would probably because if it's a higher dollar card, right, then in theory you would be losing more because it's a percentage based scale, right? So I think for lower dollar cards, I might just kind of like not think about it too much and maybe just list it to the bigger market, and just eat whatever I have to eat on that. But if it's a higher dollar card, I might consider listing it, especially if it's a hockey or golf card. Because I do feel like anecdotally, the Canadians I know in the hobby seem to resonate more with not as much necessarily with like basketball or American football cards, but more with like soccer, golf, hockey, for whatever reason, maybe even F1. And I do like regularly speak to a handful of like very, very like intense Canadian hobbyists. And so like, I think that for those higher dollar cards, I might just list them Canadian at first, and then for whatever reason, if it doesn't sell in the time frame, or like if I'm not getting the offers that I want, I probably wouldn't auction it off, but I might list it for like a reasonable price on a buy it now or best offer situation. And if I'm just not getting the bites that I want, then I would open it up to like the larger market, right? So here, Cardboard Richard's saying something in the chat. He works for Slab Sharks for Canadian consignments. A lot of Canadian collectors eyeing that stuff weekly. So I think he could bring definitely some great.
So Slab Sharks they're a Canadian consigner like ComC, except they don't have like a big ComC platform. But, Richard, I would consider using Slab Sharks if I was more into hockey, because I imagine they get a ton of the entire global market share's eyes, because the entire global market share is in Canada for hockey.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Slab Sharks gets reasonable returns for basketball cards, because basketball's big in like Toronto and some other like Calgary and Vancouver maybe. But I still feel better about sending my basketball cards to ComC, and maybe the fees end up and the foreign exchange ends up working out to be a higher percentage of the sale. But I feel like ComC is going to attract way more eyes than Slab Sharks. But I would use, I think, a company like Slab Sharks for any upper deck products. So whether that's golf, hockey, whatever, because Canadians love their upper deck. Yeah.
Hey, real quick, while we're on the topic of Cardboard Richard, how come he can't find any, I'm going to butcher this name, Ryo Ishikawa cards? Is that how you say his name?
Is that a golfer?
It's a golfer. I just pulled it up. Oh. So Richard, my guess is that he does not have any cards, and I could be wrong, but if you can't find any of his cards, and I'm actually, like, as you were asking that question, looked up his name on eBay, it's all just like Beckett authenticated golf balls. My guess is that he doesn't have any cards yet, and that is not uncommon at all. That is very, very common for, like, we spoke at the beginning of the show. Brooks Koepka only has one card. So I would not be surprised if he just does not have any cards. And maybe he's somebody we need to look into, Mike. I don't know if Cardboard Richard's trying to stump us.
I've never even heard of Ryo Ishikara. I just looked up an article from 4 years ago saying
Richard says he sucks, I guess, but I am Asian, so he was one of the first Asians who came to the PGA. Fair enough.
So it's somebody who was doing well on the Japanese tour. Looks like he won like a handful of tournaments on the Japanese tour, and then came to the PGA. Sounds like he was a phenom when he was young, but sounds like he's in his early 30s now. So, more like Rory, Brooks Koepka's age. So, us in our 30s feel like we're young, but the hot young studs are all like early 20s. So, not somebody who like Upper Deck would be looking at these days to try and sign.
Okay, back to your Jim Furyk card. I saw your Instagram post about Matthew Wolff's swing, and I feel like Furyk has had a interesting swing as well. So
absolutely, that's why I bought it. That's honestly why I bought it. I remember watching Jim Furyk playing in some tournaments years ago and thinking like, oh, that's weird. But it just, I'm fascinated by something that's weird but works for someone. And so when Matthew Wolff came out, like all guns blazing, won his second tournament on tour, was like ahead of Morikawa and stuff in terms of like hype, and then just totally dropped off. I ended up PCing him because, I bought some of his cards when they were really expensive. And I just watched the prices kept dropping. I'm like, man, I love this guy. I can keep buying his cards at reasonable prices. And as a collector, that's all you can ask for. And it was really because of his swing. I was fascinated. And I drew the exact same parallel. I don't know if there's a, vintage or older golfer that I could compare that would be better than Jim Furyk.
Yeah. All right, real quick. So, as far as Ishikawa goes, Cardboard Richard says he's like a Tiger Woods of Japan. So that's interesting. And then maybe he'll get an SI for Kids card. Who knows? Michael Block is another name. Evan Bell threw out Michael Block.
Yeah.
What he's got a custom made card, which I would stay miles
Michael Block does
away from. But
that is hilarious.
Custom made retro style art card, $14.99.
So Michael Block would have. Somebody probably is trying to capitalize and make a Michael Block custom card literally within the last 3 days, because he was not let alone a household name. He was not even like on the map of any PGA players a week ago. Wow. So did you? So here's the story about Michael Block. For those who are listening, anybody who's a golf fan or was paying attention for the last week probably already knows this, but he's a PGA professional teacher. So he's like a pro for some golf course, gives lessons for $100 an hour, like that's his day job. He's won some kind of local events and just kind of kept climbing. He's a club pro. He gives lessons for a living. So anyways, he qualified, for a PGA championship qualifier. Then he either won the PGA qualifier or, came top couple and ended up qualifying for the PGA. Then after the first round, I think he was like either leading or he was like tied for the lead. And then after round 2, he was like 4th and in the mix going into the weekend. At round 3, he played pretty well. He was still in the top 10. He got paired with Rory McIlroy, and he has this personality that was so engaging. Like, he just tells it like it is. There was no filter, but not in like a rough kind of way, but more in like a genuine kind of like wholesome way. And that's why people were really attracted to him. And you could tell he's like 47 or something. So he's by no means a prospect, but you like look at his face, he kind of looks like a rough around the edges kind of older guy to me anyways, because he's more than a decade older than me. And I look at him and I think like, oh, he'd be a fun guy to go grab a beer with. But then you hear him talk and it just almost brings tears to your eye. Like he how did this so he just talked about the experience. He's taking it all in. Somebody asked him like, what's going to be your plan for, prep work? And he's like, I'm just going to walk around because this is crazy to be here. And then, on Saturday night, they asked him, how do you feel about being paired with Rory? And he's like, Rory? Like, for real? I'm paired with Rory? No, really? He was just super pumped. And so he had this kind of like build up. Then on, I think it was either like a 13th hole, par 3, hole in one on Sunday. And people lost it.
That's amazing.
So yeah. And then he received, after all this hype, he's all over social media, received a special invitation to play in this week's PGA event. I forget what the name of the event is. So there's this like massive Michael Block hype going on right now. Everybody wants to see him.
That's great. Love it. I hope he does get a card. Let's make that happen, Upper Deck. All right. You wanted to talk about Collin Morikawa under the bye category?
Yeah. So Collin Morikawa, I think he's more acclaimed than I expected. So he's obviously like a leader on the PGA Tour. I didn't realize, like, in what year was it? Last season or the season before, he won the season-long race to Dubai, which is the DP World Tour, which used to be the European Tour. He won the whole friggin' thing. And he's not even a full-time member on their tour. Like, maybe he's a full-time member in terms of like winning and accolades. But I mean, his day job is playing on the PGA Tour, and he just goes to Europe every now and then, wins an event, and then wins in the points or the money list or whatever they use to keep track of their leaders. I think Rory's won it before, but that one makes more sense because he is a European. So, I just thought that was pretty cool that, I wasn't aware that he was so acclaimed worldwide. And then I missed out on a retro Star Rubies numbered out of 50 Morikawa, and that just, I want to like him, but things keep happening for me to not be a Morikawa collector. So,
all right. I think I might have to do some digging on some Morikawa. Under your cells, you had Koepka. We talked about that earlier on in the show, and you kind of already made the point. We talked about the Sports Illustrated for Kids prices, the signed flag that you saw more than 3 times John Rahm's prices. Anything else you wanted to add? So we talked about it maybe being a buy earlier. What's your take on Koepka? Are we selling? If you own the SI for Kids cards, do you sell it? But then if you don't own it, do you examine it as a potential quick flip if he continues to be hot in the majors this year?
Yeah. So I need to I'll probably say this in every episode, but I'm a collector. So like, I don't care about flipping and making money as much, but if an investor flipper wanted some advice, I would say, a couple days after somebody wins the PGA championships, always the best time to sell.
Yeah.
So, I don't see it being a card like the Wembanyama that's just going to completely drop off the face of the planet. But I would say right now is probably a local high, and then it'll probably fade off. And then as we approach the US Open, maybe it'll start to climb, especially if Brooks does well. It could, be a higher peak. But if you wanted to buy this card, I would wait until the off season. I think this week's the time to sell. If you wait a couple weeks, maybe not the best time to sell.
Cool. So we're about to get into the watch list. Cardboard Richard says, go get this one, guys. 2021 Metal Universe Collin Morikawa Retro Star Rubies Auto, SGC 910 Auto. Why do I feel like that is massively expensive? Is it reasonable?
I saw that one. So there's a couple things about this card. It's a sticker auto. It's from his rookie year, so like you could say it's one of his rookie cards. It doesn't say rookie on it. There's this weird thing about Star Rubies. The non-auto versions are super popular. I love them. They're highly sought after. The Star Rubies autos aren't as much, and I don't know why. They don't sell for massive amounts, and maybe they will, and maybe it is a good buying opportunity. I think it has to do with aesthetics, though. Like, personally speaking, I like the look of the card without the autograph.
Mm-hmm.
With the autograph, click. That's the one right there. Just click on it.
To me, it's $23 with $23.50, 3 days left.
So a card like that, I mean, if I were to guess, this is going to sell for over $100. Yeah,
could be cool though. Could be a good first one for me.
And if it's numbered out of 10, then it could definitely sell for a decent amount. I've seen some of these Star Rubies autos that I didn't think they were.
Yeah, it's not numbered. Because the SGC slab, and this is something I'll say, I do like that SGC on the label says when it's numbered. PSA does not do that. So this one's not numbered, but it's a good. I mean,
so is it not
affordable numbered? Than it says it's I don't see a serial number on the zoomed in photo.
Go to the backside. Is there any number back there?
I don't see one. I could be missing one, but
yeah. So it says numbered. Oh, it says 9/10. So it's not a card out of 10. It got an SGC 9 and a 10 auto. So
right,
yeah,
that's right.
That validates what I was saying. These are not numbered, so we don't know how many there are. Whereas the base non-autographed Star Rubies, we know there's only 50 copies of it, so maybe a little more collectible because that's transparent. I don't imagine there's more than 50 of this autographed version. But yeah, I mean, it's an awesome looking card. I would love to have it in my collection. I don't know if the Star Rubies is a autographed type of insert in terms of like collectability, and the fact that it's a sticker auto also is a little bit of a turnoff. But overall, the card's awesome, and if I could get it for less than $100, I probably would. I imagine this will sell for $125.
Cool. All right, so wow. Oh, you had the same card, but it's out of you had a PSA 9 on your watch list.
That's no, that the PSA 9 wasn't autographed though, I don't think.
Okay, gotcha.
Or check it out.
Yeah. Something's happening with my eBay URLs. So
on the watch list, I think I mislabeled it. It's not the number out of 50. I think it was like a number out of 75 or numbered out of 100. So with the Star Rubies parallels, this kind of thing I'm almost nervous to say because it's kind of like a little secret, and I like to know it myself so that I get the cards I want whenever they show up.
Come on, Mike, be valuable to the audience, man.
Exactly.
You can't have a podcast and not share your secrets.
I know. I'll share my knowledge. So there's multiple parallels of the Star Rubies. This one, I believe, is like numbered out of 75 or 100. You could probably see it. It's on the back. It'll be on the back along one of the edges.
What number to 100?
There you go. So this is out of 100. The numbered out of 50 is the retro style. And just like PMGs, it's the retro version that people are most interested in. Whereas the numbered out of 75, numbered out of 100 has this scope prism look to it. If you ever collect like the Asia T-Mall sets of like basketball and other sports, you can see like these little X's or crosses, and it's kind of shiny. Whereas the retro Star Rubies has this like leopard look to it. So this one is going to sell for much less than the number out of 50. And not just because the serial number is higher, but also because it's not a retro style.
Cool. That's great insights. And I actually still love the card. So that's pretty cool. All right. So in terms of what else is on the watch list here? So we got the Morikawas.
So I'll go through a couple because I know we're short for time. So I saw a Sahith Theegala PMG 1/1 come up, his purple PMG. Sahith Theegala is actually a pretty major prospect. Like his cards are selling for a lot. His cards are pretty much only in Goodwin Champions and Metal Universe Champions. He wasn't printed in Upper Deck Artifacts or SB Authentic or anything like that. So there's less of his cards out there, which makes them, higher value for the ones he has. And he's playing well. He won an event in like a team event, like him and another guy playing like a scramble type thing. And he's been, finishing top 10s pretty regularly. He's the kind of guy who could possibly make like the President's Cup or the Ryder Cup. And he's also, I mean, not to bring race into this, but he's sort of a guy of color. Like, yeah, like Indonesian or East Indian descent or something like that. And whenever there's somebody who's becoming highly successful in a sport that's so dominated by middle-aged white guys, I mean, even I am more attracted to that because it's more interesting story. You know that he probably didn't have the easiest rise to fame. It sounds like his background wasn't from like a wealthy family, so he's the kind of guy that like checks a lot of boxes in terms of, you know, rooting him on and hoping he does well, and he is doing pretty well. So his PMG purple 1 of 1, just like the Matthew Wolff that I bought, showed up on an auction, and I watched it, and I was like, I want to win this card, but I'm not going to spend too much money. And the other reason I was watching it is I wanted to know if I overpaid for my Matthew Wolff. So I paid $276 for my Matthew Wolff. The Sahith Theegala sold for $955. So it validated. I felt way better about how much I spent on the Matthew Wolff. Somebody spent almost $1,000 on this Prospects 1 of 1.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, it definitely tells you, even though it was a PMG 1 of 1, it's still a lot. It tells you that, yeah, he's definitely a prospect people are interested in. Okay, cool. We got a few more, and then we'll wrap it. So
that Michael Jordan April Fool's card, the CSG 7 I have, PSA 9 sold for $220. So that's pretty cool. I mean, if I were to get that I think I bid 150 on it. So seemed like a fun auction to follow. There was another Daniel Berger rookie auto PSA 10, and it was actually the inscribed version. So the ones that I have don't have any inscription. It's just like the base rookie auto version. This card came up with it said, I think it said rookie of the year. Scroll down. Yeah, oh, there it is. 2014 ROY.
Cool inscription, yeah.
Rookie of the year. And it's also PSA 10. So I won this auction.
Nice.
Because I got 2 of his base auto PSA 10s, and like I told you, I think this guy's going to come back from injury and play really well, and his value and stock is going to spike. So I threw a bid of like $50 or something on this. I won it for $41. And because it's COMC, I don't have to pay shipping, and I can use COMC credit to buy this card and pay for the auction rather than having to cash out and then use my Canadian money and miss out on foreign exchange. And there's all kinds of benefits once you have credit in COMC to buy from COMC. So there's a lot of things going for the auction for me. So yeah.
Well done, Mike.
Thank you.
Love that.
And then lastly, I think this one might even be a current auction. There's a Rory McIlroy autograph on auction. I think it's at like $300 right now. It's a really cool looking gold foil. Is that one a exquisite? I don't know.
It's exquisite collection. Yeah.
There you go. So it's an exquisite brand, which carries like high value in our sport. Autographed on card, might even be from his rookie year. I don't know if it's like 2013 or something like that. So I messaged the seller.
It is 2013.
There you go. So this might even be considered his rookie card. I messaged the seller and asked him if he would accept an offer before there were any bids on it. And he said he had this posted on eBay on Buy It Now or Best Offer, and he received a dozen offers, but nothing higher than, he either said 400 or 450. So he said he thought he would get more at auction. So for those who are listening,
looks like he probably will. Not much more, but looks like he probably will. 2 days left, 16 bids, $313. So he'll probably do
for those
that.
Listening, if you want to throw a bid of $410, and if you were to win it, you know there's definitely people who would offer you $450 for it.
There you go. Love that. I like this card. This would be a card that I would consider buying. It's a little bit more than I want to spend on a golf card currently, but there's been pockets of time when I've considered golf cards like this because it is Rory. I mean, you know, to spend this much money, I'd probably want to get a guy like him, like invested in a Tiger or you know, or somebody like a Rory. Cardboard Richard likes it. He likes it. Was eyeing that same card for Tiger. So yeah, that one for Tiger's probably 3 times the price, I would guess.
The gold foiling, by the way, is easy. I think, during the manufacturing process to chip, and when they cut the card, it isn't like a perfectly straight line.
Yeah.
So there's a reason when you see these gold exquisite autos listed on eBay that they're not graded. So, you know, if you come across these, to our listeners, don't think you can pick this up, submit it, get a PSA 9 or 10 and you know, double your money, because they're more likely to get like a 6 or 7 or an 8.
Love it. Good advice. Good advice. All right, Mike, anything else you want to add for episode 7 of the Golf Card Strategy Show?
Well, we ran out of time, so there are a few things I wanted to mention, but I won't get into all of them. The one thing I wanted to say, just because it's timely, so the Toronto Expo, which is a big sports card show for Canada, it's really hard for somebody like me to go. In fact, it would be easier for somebody who lives in the Eastern United States to go there than it would be for me, because I live further away at the other end of the country in Canada. But there is a guy named Eugene Kim who went there. Eugene, if you're listening, you know, good. Thank you for promoting golf cards. He went and spent like tens of thousands of dollars on golf wax, and he ripped them open. So this is the kind of story I love to see. So he ripped up some Upper Deck artifacts and some SP game used, and he pulled a Tiger Woods auto numbered out of 4, which was like a buyback kind of card. Like, it was an older Tiger Woods card that Upper Deck acquired, had Tiger sign it, number it out of 4, and then they randomly inserted it into new sets. So, and it did have like an Upper Deck certification on the card. So that card I would say is a huge card, like maybe 5 to 10 grand for the right buyer. And then the other one he pulled was a Jack Nicklaus 1/1 auto from Artifacts. So good job, Eugene. I just, that story was too good not to share.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Well, golf cards, they're on the rise, baby. It's golf season. We want to know what you're doing with golf cards and your golf card strategy. There's a lot to get done. Mike Lakusta is phenomenal at helping you find cards right in that pocket of, like, you know, 20 to 80 bucks. Like that. I mean, he's good at helping you find a lot of different stuff, but I've just noticed that my co-host here is amazing at scouting it out. So I feel like honing in on the watch list, honing in on ways to help you collect and flip are things we're going to continue to do. Thanks again for all of your support, everybody. We'd love it if you drop a comment, drop a like, drop a subscribe. Check out Mike on Instagram, golf_card_collector. On YouTube, Golf Card Collector, although he's not making any promises for the quality of the content there. And then the Golf Cards and Memorabilia group on Facebook. We'd love to see all of you there. Next episode, we will see if I have purchased my first golf card yet or not. Everybody, thanks so much and have a great day.